Right now, the special prosecutor in the Trayvon Martin shooting is about to release new information in the case. In fact, she is at the podium right now, so let's listen in.
One of my top homicide prosecutors, and John Guy, my other top homicide prosecutor, who will lead this investigation. With us also is Jim Madden from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Dominic Pape, also one of our special agents in charge, our sheriff, John Rutherford, and our undersheriff, Dwayne Centerfit. We appreciate so much all of their cooperation in this. And I especially want to thank my two state attorney investigators, T.C. Osteen and Dale Gilbreth, who have spent countless hours doing what they do best, investigating homicides. Oh, excuse me. Allow me to take a moment to acknowledge our governor, Rick Scott, and his office, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her office, along with our U.S. Attorney, Bobby O'Neill, for their continuing support of our appointment to this case and their support of this investigation. We spoke with all of them briefly and informed them of the results of our investigation and our plan as we continue. I can tell you we did not come to this decision lightly. This case is like a lot of the difficult cases we have handled for years here in our circuit, and we've made this decision in the same manner. Let me emphasize that we do not prosecute by public pressure or by petition. We prosecute based on the facts of any given case, as well as the laws of the state of Florida. When they appointed us to this case less than 3 weeks ago, I want you to know that these two fine prosecutors, despite all that is on their plate already, handling all of the homicides in the 4th Judicial Circuit, supervising the other young lawyers who also handle homicides, they willingly took this case on and said, we will lead this effort to seek justice for Trayvon. We launched an intensive investigation building on all of the work that Sanford Police Department and the State Attorney's Office in Seminole County had already done. Unless you've ever been a law enforcement officer or a prosecutor handling a difficult homicide case, you cannot know what it's like to launch this type of investigation and come to the right conclusion. The Supreme Court has defined our role on numerous occasions as prosecutors that we are not only ministers of justice, we are seekers of the truth. And we stay true to that mission. Again, we prosecute on facts and the laws of the great and sovereign state of Florida, and that's the way it will be in this case. When we took our oath of office in 2009, we pledged not only to look out for our precious victims of all of our cases, but also to adhere to the rules of the criminal justice system and the rules of our Constitution and statutes that protect a defendant's rights as well. When we charge a person with a crime, we are equally committed to justice on their behalf as we are on our victim's behalf. So we are here to do that on behalf of our victim, Trayvon Martin, and on behalf of the person responsible for his death, George Zimmerman. We will continue to seek the truth throughout this case. Every single day, our prosecutors across this great country handle difficult cases, and they adhere to that same standard, a never-ending search for the truth and a quest to always do the right thing for the right reason. There is a reason cases are tried in a court of law, not in the court of the public, and not by the media, because details have to come out in excruciating and minute fashion, detail by detail, bit of evidence by bit of evidence. And it's only then when the trier of fact, whether it's a judge or a jury, gets all of those details, that then the law is applied to that and a decision can be rendered. We will scrupulously adhere to our ethical obligations and to the rules of evidence in presenting this case that way. Today, we filed an information charging George Zimmerman with murder in the 2nd degree. A capias has been issued for his arrest. With the filing of that information and the issuance of a capias, he will have a right to appear in front of a magistrate in Seminole County within 24 hours of his arrest, and thus formal prosecution will begin. We thank all of those people across this country who have sent positive energy and prayers our way. We ask you to continue to pray for Trayvon's family as well as for our prosecution team. I want to especially thank Mr. Crump and Mr. Parks, who have stayed in touch daily with us on behalf of our victim's family. Remember, it is Trayvon's family that are our constitutional victims and who have the right to know the critical stages of these proceedings. I will entertain some questions, but remember, we have very strict rules of ethics, very strict rules of criminal procedure, and we will be adhering to those rules.
Would one piece of evidence confirm that Mr. Zimmerman is in custody? Can you confirm Mr. Zimmerman is already in custody?
I will confirm that Mr. Zimmerman is indeed in custody.
Can you tell us
Ms.
where?
Zimmerman,
Can you tell us
I
where?
will not tell you where. That's for his safety as well as everyone else's.
can you tell us what led to your decision today?
I'm sorry.
Can you tell us what led to your decision today? Was there one single piece of evidence that led you to charge him with murder in the second
We
degree?
don't discuss the evidence in a case. It would be improper to do so. It was a full investigation, full facts and circumstances that lead us to any decision in any case.
Did the stand your ground law apply here to his defense?
I'm sorry.
If he turned himself in, or was he arrested?
Mr. Zimmerman turned himself in and was and by turning himself in was arrested on the capias that had already been issued.
Did you say whether he's
Why
in
did
Florida
it
or
take so
not?
long to come to this decision?
Well, it didn't take long. We have many complicated homicides that are thoroughly investigated. Remember, the prosecutor's burden under our Constitution is proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
But it's been 45 days since Trayvon Martin was killed. Can you talk about the process leading up to this?
And you've been listening
Well-
live to the news conference of State Attorney Angela Corey, State Special Prosecutor Angela Corey in Florida, talking about the Trayvon Martin case and the charges filed against George Zimmerman, murder in the second degree. Also, she says that Zimmerman is in custody and that he turned himself into authorities. A lot to chew on there.
That's right. Mark Crumbine, a local attorney, a criminal defense attorney, is here with us. Mark, your reaction, murder in the second degree. Tell us what that means.
My reaction would be I'm not that surprised. And murder in the second degree is a non-premeditated murder. It means that there was an intent to kill, but it wasn't premeditated or planned out ahead of time. So that's what that means. And I'm not surprised. You know, Florida has a different law than Ohio. You're allowed to stand your ground if you're being assaulted or attacked, and you can use deadly force, but it still has to be appropriate to the attack itself. And in this case, I think the real distinction, I don't even necessarily think the stand your ground law would apply in this case, because apparently Mr. Zimmerman called the police and told them there's a suspicious guy, and they said, stop following him, you don't need to do that. And then he aggressively went after him. You can hear in the 911 call that someone's calling out for help, and then there's a gunshot. So I would assume their investigation found that the person calling out for help may have been Trayvon himself.
There's some complicating factors here. Mr. Zimmerman's legal team, the one that he had up until very recently, just yesterday quit because they couldn't get in touch with him, couldn't get him to call them back. So what happens for him now that he's under arrest, at least thus far, as we know, without legal representation?
Well, I'm sure that he'll have to get his own attorney, or they'll appoint one quickly. He's got to be arraigned within 24 hours. So if he doesn't have an attorney by then, they'll assign one to him. And the most important issue now would be bond. He has come back voluntarily. Apparently he was hiding out for his own safety, Mr. Zimmerman. He did come and turn himself in, so that could be a major factor. On the other hand, this is a murder charge, and so the bond still could be high.
The prosecutor, Ms. Corey, decided not to convene a grand jury, decided for herself. What would be the thinking in a situation like that?
Well, they may have felt perhaps they would have trouble getting a grand jury to indict at this stage. I mean, there are a lot of mixed feelings about this, whether it's self-defense, stand your ground, or is an aggressive act of a murderer. So there's a lot of mixed feelings. You'd have to get 8 people to agree it was murder, so they can just charge with murder, as could be done in Ohio, charge, and then later on it will have to go to a grand jury at some point. In Ohio it would be 10 days if you're in custody, so I'm sure they have something similar in Florida. So we eventually will see what a grand jury will do on this case.
All right. We've been talking with Mark Crumbine, criminal defense attorney here in the tri-state, about the announcement that George Zimmerman has been charged with second-degree murder in the death of Trayvon Martin. Mark, thank you for being here.